Hello, everybody, and welcome in to Blue Jays Today, folks, where today we got some Juan Soto drama to get into. Now, yesterday, for our American viewers, you might have been sitting back, sipping on some red wine, watching the football, eating some turkey, engaging in wild political arguments with your probably, out-of-date uncle. But while you were doing that, there was drama transpiring on Twitter or on X, whichever you want to call it, surrounding Mr. Juan Soto. Division rivals of the Toronto Blue Jays, Boston Red Sox, have been linked to Soto, and they've been linked strongly by a guy named Mick.
Who's Mick?
Don't know. Not sure. We're going to do some investigative reporting on this one. We're really going to dive into it. We're going to go along with this and, kind of get our detective hats on here and figure out what's really going on with Juan Soto because, if you logged on to Twitter at all yesterday, it was a fucking shit show.
Mess. It was a mess. You had actual MLB reporters, this guy named Mick. You had people like Hector Gomez who are borderline not trustable. Everyone coming out and throwing their own report on this whole Juan Soto thing. Now, I want to say this first of all before we get into this. We're only talking about this just based on how crazy it was, and this reminds me a lot of what happened with Aaron Judge going to the Giants, Blue Jays and Shohei Ohtani. It's a very similar situation where you've got a lot of different people claiming that this is going to happen, that this player is going to sign with this team. And we all know how those all turned out. He did not go to the Giants, Aaron Judge, and Shohei Ohtani did not go to the Blue Jays.
And also, too, and I hope this isn't disrespectful, but a lot of different people claiming that he's going to go one place who are not the MLB Insiders or reputable names that we have grown to trust, like a Jeff Passan, who, by the way, is part of this elaborate tale. So let's flash over to that initial tweet by a guy named Mick. Now, this guy, apparently, he does know stuff about Boston. I was under the impression that he broke the firing of, I think it was a Jim Montgomery or something like that. He's tied,
got it right a couple times.
Yeah, it's the thing. He's been tied to the Boston Bruins. I know that he's got some connections there in some capacity.
Right.
The ties with the Boston Red Sox. I don't know. He came out and said, breaking news, the Boston Red Sox have signed free agent outfielder Juan Soto. So not even that they're in the mix or that they're getting close or anything like that. No, they outright signed the guy. The terms of the deal are still unknown, but I'm hearing it's 12 years with no deferred money. Expect an official announcement to come within the next few days. Now, when you come out and you say that the most coveted free agent on the market has officially signed with a team, whether it be the Red Sox, the Mets, the Blue Jays, you name it, you better have something to back that up. And so far, that has not been the case.
Well, yeah, just I guess to his own credit, it's only been one day since this has been announced. So in the next few days, it's going to come. But the story gets even thicker right here, right? He goes on and he doubles down. Obviously, you're going to get a lot of shit. There's a lot of trolls.
A lot of pushback.
There's a lot of trolls out there on Twitter. I've seen so many troll accounts that have said, breaking, so do the Jays, breaking this. But you look at their profile and it's like, yeah, you're a troll. Whereas this guy continued to double down. It wasn't a joke.
And he really is trying to be legit with this. Yeah, he came out after the fact, after people started responding to him and everything like that. And, obviously, giving him pushback and said, I stand by my report. He's a Red Sox. Right now, I'm receiving tons of media requests, and I appreciate all of them. But the only program I'm willing to appear on and talk Soto is a show that I'll be honest,
never heard of this show.
I have not heard of it. Kirkman Show. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Happy Thanksgiving. So he was obviously getting, inundated with a bunch of different requests to go and talk about this and to back up what it was that he tweeted out. But he is not willing to do so. Now, before we continue with this story, because Jeff Passan gets involved very, very soon, and then Hector Gomez gets involved after that, and this guy continues to get involved. Soto going to the Red Sox is not a crazy thing. And I do think that there is a legitimate chance here, to play devil's advocate, there is a legitimate chance that this guy could be proven right as time goes on. It could happen. It really could happen. Do I necessarily believe that a deal has been signed right now and this is the guy that knows it? That's where it gets difficult for me.
Yeah, for me, how many times have you really seen a guy like this come out of the woodworks and just claim that this is going to happen and then it actually happened? Like days before it actually happens. You know what I mean? Like if that information has gotten to him, that information would have certainly gotten to somebody else like Jeff Passan or John Heyman, who probably would have came up with some version of the tweet of their own. Like things are looking increasingly likely, Boston Red Sox and Soto are picking up steam right now. Like something like that.
That's the thing.
You know
I just find it so hard to believe that you're that on the inside.
Yeah. You have
that
5,000. No offense, you have 5,000 followers on Twitter.
Like right. And I mean, this, before everyone else does by a wide margin.
Yeah.
And even when people are pushing back, you continue to, go after. This reminds me a lot of. I mean, you brought up the Aaron Judge, you brought up the Shohei Ohtani, but last year, right, when you had that guy JP Hornstra coming out. Now, JP Hornstra has been reputable before. He's gotten some stuff right. He does know stuff about the LA Dodgers. I imagine that he's continued to be tied with LA and everything like that. And he came out and he spoke about this, and he was dead wrong. And that's that is what it was, right? But, he kind of was sticking to his guns there, and I believe he doubled down, too, actually.
He did double down. He said, I believe my sources, blah, 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 blah.
So I wouldn't be surprised at all if this guy is, in fact, hearing something.
Right.
But, is it the actual truth? I don't know.
Here's the thing, right? What was the whole conspiracy theory with, Shohei Ohtani?
Get him a better deal.
Was to get up the deal from the Mets or the Yankees or from whoever he's trying to get it out there, right? Like, apparently the whole rumors was the agency leaked something for that exact reason. This could be or could not be the exact same thing. You go and give it to some guy like this who could speak off and shoot it off without any repercussions because they're that confident. Whereas maybe a Jeff Passan or someone higher is a little more careful with that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly right. I mean, I really do believe that this could be the exact same formula that we're seeing, for the third year in a row, right? You saw that, you saw the winning formula with Judge, and then you saw it again with Shohei Ohtani. We were the recipients of, the embarrassment last year. And I think right now you might be seeing it again with the Boston Red Sox. Secretly, I love it because it means that the Blue Jays are not the most recently to be embarrassed if he doesn't go to Boston. If he goes to Boston, then, this guy is going to... Honestly, if he goes to Boston, then all the apologies to you, Mick. Yeah. You can shove it back in my face.
Absolutely. You should get your own show. Screw that guy show. Get your own show because clearly you know what you're talking
about,
right?
However, all that being said, he did proceed to get cooked by Jeff Passan. This guy at home with his family for Thanksgiving decides to hop on Twitter and drop a little bomb of his own. He said, I am thankful for reporters who don't make up stories. Oof. I am also thankful that Juan Soto has not agreed to any contract, which means you can get off Twitter and go spend the holiday with your family. Happy Thanksgiving. So,
because he did. That's a direct shot at his Happy Thanksgiving right here.
It is.
Direct shot.
Obviously a direct shot at this guy specifically who was gaining a lot of steam. People were talking about it. And Jeff Passan had to come in here, had to right the ship, and be very clear about what was going on here.
Our
and
Lord
that
and Savior,
nothing was going on here.
He's our Lord and Savior, right? I mean, this is the most concrete individual of any MLB insider out there. So he goes out there and he cooks him. Absolutely. But does that stop Mick? No, sir, it does not. This guy triples down. Mick says, don't be an asshole because you got caught with your pants down. Soto to Boston.
Damn,
period.
Dude. Damn.
He's this confident, man.
That is...
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and, I guess I'll try to speak from the way that I look at things here. If this was us, right? If this was Blue Jays today and, it was Shohei Ohtani coming here or, Soto coming here or anything like that, and Jeff Passan specifically... tweeted at me effectively and was like, no, guys, it's not. You're making shit up.
Yeah.
I would not have the balls to then go out and call Jeff Passan an asshole. Because if Jeff Passan tells me I'm wrong, doesn't matter who my sources are. I'm wrong.
Well, that's
just the way of it.
Well, that's the thing. Either he's kind of an idiot, or he so strongly believes that, well, maybe it's both, that this source is that credible and he knows it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's both, Adam. I really do think it's both. Because, he tripled down there, and then this morning he decided to quadruple down and then further went on to talk about how he just spoke with a source close to Soto signing. So this is somebody who is I guess in the room or part of the agency or what have you, And apparently, put this in quotation marks, so this is word for word what they said. Boston's PR team had a plan for the announcement that included a video of Soto at Fenway Park.
Wow.
Management got word of your report yesterday and called an emergency Zoom meeting.
Jesus.
You nailed it. He's coming to Boston.
Wow.
Dude,
Man.
this is like, okay.
If this is an actual quote, like, this guy is obviously like him.
Dude,
But-
that's the thing. Like, this to me sounds like the type of shit that I dream about. You know,
Right,
like when
right.
you know those times when like you get in an argument with somebody and like you don't have you don't say what you want to say, and then the next day, like in the shower, you're
Right,
thinking
right.
about like what the prime situation would have
Right,
been,
right.
how you would have said this and that, and then this would have had like this feels like a fairy tale.
It does.
Me.
It feels too,
You
too good
nailed
to be true.
it.
It's too
Yeah.
good to be true.
It is, right?
You nailed it. Good job, buddy. Good job,
Yeah.
Nick. You got
You're
it.
him.
But okay, I already know we're gonna get a lot of shit for even going down this rabbit hole.
Right.
But
right.
if he was right,
Wow, no, I mean,
You
like,
know?
look, you always got to do that, right?
You always gotta
that's
look
what
at both
separates.
sides.
That's what separates, somebody that I guess you could argue is intelligent from somebody that's ignorant. You got to be able to evaluate both sides. If Mick is right, he's him. He nailed it. You know what? And again, like I said before, there is a good chance that he could go to Boston. A couple days ago, before all this stuff came out, like Boston was, I think, third in terms of just like statistical odds by Vegas to go out and to sign Juan Soto. And you look at their makeup as a team. They got Rafael Devers locked up for a long period of time, which I would imagine Juan Soto is, very excited about, right? There's a superstar here
Yep.
that is very, very good. I know that he can be trusted on and depended on, and they have a direction as a team, right? So he's obviously got to like that. And they are a historical franchise, which I'd imagine that Juan Soto probably appreciates as well. And of course, on top of that, they're a pretty solid team too. And you got to imagine with Juan Soto, 90 wins is certainly not impossible for them. So
No.
everything being considered, could he still go to Boston? Of course he could. This is very much still on the table.
Right.
It does feel like Mick is jumping the gun.
it does feel like that. I mean, going back to his original report where he's like, in a couple of days you're gonna hear something. Well, if the plan from the Boston side of things was to create this whole video and like have him come over and be like this big announcement, we saw it happen with Shohei Ohtani with the Dodgers. Hell, we saw it with Trevor Bauer with the Dodgers back in the day. Remember when he officially died? He had his whole video,
Yeah.
Dodger blue, and blah blah blah. So like, that is a realistic possibility. And do you really think it's going to happen, though? Because we've been getting all these other reports from all these other guys like John Heyman, Bob Nightingale, Jeff Passan saying, well, Soto's not going to sign until the winter meetings.
Yeah.
He's still got to go through all these different layers of, renegotiating with the Jays, with the Yankees, with the Mets. We still got to hear that maximum offer. So for me, that's what I keep going back to, where I almost don't want to believe it, because why would you jump the gun this early? And for which we're going to get to, actually, there's a bunch of reports of like, $600 million, which is great, but can't you get even a little bit more if you squeeze it out of the Mets? You know what I mean?
Like I just don't think that this actually makes sense
Doesn't
from
make sense.
Soto's perspective to accept an offer this early.
Yeah.
And I do think that this is the perfect scenario for Juan Soto, right? To get all these rumors coming out and to
sure.
make this chaos happen and to have numbers start to fly around, because, let's flash over there right now. Mike Rodriguez tweeted out a thing, which then you had Hector Gomez responding to. He initially said that the deal or the offer that the Red Sox had on the table, because we hadn't heard the terms from Mick, the offer that they had on the table was a 12-year offer for about $50 million a year, which works out to be roughly $600 million.
And what's interesting is that's the exact same 12-year offer that Mick said.
Right.
So it's all lining up.
It's kind of lining up, right? And then you had Hector Gomez come out a little bit after that and correct him and said that he is hearing, actually, it's a 13-year deal for $625. So I don't know what the math works out there, but, like $47 million a year, something like that, right? A lot of money, which could very well be true. However, we have known Hector Gomez to get things wrong before.
A lot of the time.
And honestly, I mean, like, if that's the truth, right? If this is the truth and all this stuff is coming out right now, I don't think that Soto has exhausted his negotiation tactics right now. Like, if 625 is the number, I don't think that's where he's going to land. And I think that the New York Mets would be willing to go higher than that. It just doesn't make sense for me from his standpoint to have signed so early into a deal like that.
The only realistic outcome I could get from maybe all this broken telephone stuff is that maybe we know that Boston Red Sox made an offer. We know that Blue Jays, Dodgers, Yankees, Mets, they've all made offers.
Boston made an offer, they're in.
Right. And now this is the week that they're doing the renegotiations. I could have easily believed that word got out that Boston re-upped their offer just like the Yankees re-upped their offer. And now they're in first place. And then I could see how that through the grapevine got miscommunicated that like, oh crap, he's signing that level of deal. I could easily see that happening. And there's a broken telephone down the line because of how aggressive they've been and how excited everyone wants to be the underdog, to go and sign Juan Soto and steal him away from New York.
Yeah, of course. And again, like I empathize with Boston Red Sox fans a little bit because we were there, right? We were taken last year for a ride. That's a real thing that happened. And we had tweets, coming out from our versions of Mick and Hector Gomez being part of it too, right? They were all part of it, and talking about it. And then ultimately what happened? Well, he went where everybody thought that he was going to go, which was the LA Dodgers. So, for me, like right now, you're going to continue to hear shit like this. There's going to continue to be, various reports. Maybe Mick is going to quintuple down,
probably
sextuple down, whatever. I don't even know what happens after. I don't even know all. But he's just going to continue to down until you get that confirmed signing. I'm still thinking though that Boston's very much in the mix. I think it's a real thing that they could in fact sign this guy, but I don't anticipate any signing happening until at the very least a couple days before the winter meetings, or realistically during the winter
or
meetings.
Even after, like
or potentially slightly
right?
after too.
Because you saw that happen with Ohtani. Everyone got together. There was a bunch of negotiations back and forth, and then it escalated very quickly. So I think what we're gonna keep hearing is this team re-upped, this team re-upped, this team re-upped, until we get to the final winter meetings, which could be like the final two or whatever it might be, like last year it was with Ohtani.
Yeah, I agree. Now, all of this being said, I think the Blue Jays are safe for now in the Juan Soto sweepstakes. That, all that being considered, though, I think if we can take anything away from what we've been hearing right now, the one thing that I put a little bit of weight on is, Hector Gomez's thing and Mike Rodriguez's thing. I think that a 12-year or 13-year deal of, $635 or whatever the number is, that is probably on the table right now from at least one team. I think that you're going to see a number like that on the table from at least one team. Are the Toronto Blue Jays willing to go over the top of that? We knew it was going to have to be something stupid like 700, but it's now, it's seeming like that is the only way that they're going to get him here is if the number starts with like a 7.
It has to start with a 7. I have a video talking a little bit about it coming out tomorrow, but to explain them on it a little bit further here, like the Mets are waiting in the corner for everybody to get their offers on the table. They're going to go, okay, who's got the biggest offer? That's cute. Bam, we're going to slam that offer. We're going to go whatever it is over top and make it done. I'm Steve Cohen. We could do that. So for the Blue Jays to realistically get the job done, we all knew they were going to have to outbid the Mets, but that's because you're looking at a team like the Blue Jays, very different than the Boston Red Sox, where we don't have our superstar locked down for a long time, where we have a disadvantage where we're not a winning team right now, where the Boston Red Sox are a very fringe winning team. Like they could easily be a winning team, adding Juan Soto and a few pitchers next year. So there's a lot of disadvantages for us. We have to beat the Mets and beat them substantially to have a hope and a prayer, as I think it was Bob Nightingale said in a recent report. That's it.
No, and that was always going to be the case. I think that, you're seeing the commitment of a lot of these other squads right now. Like, because again, these rumors, although they might not be 100% factually true, they don't just come from nowhere, right? It's not like Mick decided, I'm a little pissed off today. I'm gonna be the guy on Thanksgiving and, get everybody up in a flood. No, he heard something from somebody. Boston is serious. Boston is 100% serious. We know both New York teams are serious. If Toronto wants to get in on this thing and actually scoop it away, which at this point, it feels like it's becoming increasingly more of a long shot, they are going to have to really get into that fuck it territory of money to do it.
Do you think we're going to hear something similar about Blue Jays and Soto?
I'm not sure, man, because like if it really is if what's happening right now is all a negotiation tactic, I think that Toronto fans are kind of wise this time around. Yeah, I think that we're very skeptical. Whereas this hasn't happened to Boston, right? Boston made fun of us last year. Now it's happening to them, right? Like I think that honestly, if you hear like Juan Soto's on a plane to Toronto, maybe I'm just gullible, but I think he's actually going to be on the plane to Toronto this time around.
No, yeah.
You can't take us twice.
Unless it came from a troll source like a Mick or
right.
someone else.
You can't take us for a ride twice. We're not going to fall for it twice. So if you see that he's coming to Toronto, I feel like he's actually coming to Toronto. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass though.
Yeah, maybe, guys. So that's the latest right now on the Juan Soto sweepstakes. Just ridiculous rumors. So I thought we'd share that with y'all just because it was just so wild. I mean,
it is, and it does paint the picture of, it's going to be 700 at least if the Toronto Blue Jays are going to do this thing, because these numbers aren't coming from nowhere completely.
Right.
We are going to have to go crazy. However, all that being said, though, we did kind of already snag the most underrated superstar of this offseason, folks.
Oh, no.
I hope you didn't miss this one. We got Michael Stefanic.
Let's go.
Coming over to the Toronto Blue Jays in that middle infield, a position of need for us. Didn't have anybody over there manning the second base bag already. We needed somebody. We needed a superstar. Who is it? It's Michael Stefanic. Tell me a little bit about what Michael Stefanic does for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, he does nothing currently for the Toronto Blue Jays, and I anticipate he won't be doing a hell of a lot for the Toronto Blue Jays. Minor league contract, everybody. Minor league contract, Michael Stefanic, 28 years old. Probably will be turning 29 next year. But as you can see, guys, the career numbers are they're just not there. He's only had 3, seasons and a cup of coffee, 90 games in the big leagues. The bat's terrible. I mean, I'm going to put it quite blank there. The bat's terrible. But he could play some second, third. Now, some people might be wondering, well, why are we signing a Michael Stefanic? He's decent with the glove, and we provide depth. Now, but other people might be saying, well, why are we even adding this guy when we've got Addison Barger, we've got Ernie Clement, we've got Will Wagner, we have Horwitz is playing second base now. We have so many guys, or Elvis Martinez, who can all play that position. And if you were to ask me, why did we sign him? I'm going to tell you just pure honesty, guys. I have no effing idea. I actually have no idea why we signed this guy, because I'm thinking about who's playing in AAA.
Yeah.
Well, it's the guys who aren't going to be making it to the big league level, unless the Blue Jays have some mastermind plan where they're going to trade all these young guys away for some bullpen, and this is the depth just in case. Maybe.
Man, I don't think that there's a whole lot to this.
No.
And I think that if you try to really think hard about it, but what's the true reason? I mean, I don't think there's much other than the fact that the Toronto Blue Jays felt like they saw a little bit of value there in Michael Stefanic. Maybe we don't see it because, I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with his game other than the numbers on the page, and the numbers on the page don't look good. So maybe they see a little smidgen of value there, and maybe one day, who knows, later down the line, this guy can come up and he can have a cup of coffee in the big leagues for the Toronto Blue Jays and do okay.
You never know.
On top of all of that, obviously, depth is never a bad thing. And, of course, we've been talking a lot about potentially trading some people away from that infield. Now, this doesn't open the door for you to do that completely or anything like that.
Right.
But, you know what? I guess you can feel a little bit better about having just more options there if you were to give away an Addison Barger, or if you were to give away or Elvis Martinez, or something like that, right? You can just feel like, okay, well, we got somebody in the minors, and if we trade somebody away and then another guy gets injured and then another guy gets injured, well, now we got Michael Stefanic here.
Right? And you know what? To give Michael Stefanic a little bit of credit, thank you, Eric Shepard, in the chat for bringing this up. I didn't even see this. I didn't even bother looking at his minor league stats, to be honest, because, again, of that reason of whatever. What is this, a big nothing burger signing? But, hey, he had a 953 OPS in AAA last year.
There you go.
There you go.
That's something to hang your hat on. And, if he does that again in the Toronto Blue Jays minor league system, maybe there is a spot for you in MLB, right? If you keep popping off down there, right? Again, it was only 90 games that he's played in the MLB. That's too small of a sample size to judge him completely.
And probably regular playing time too,
Right.
So it's you look at someone like an Ernie Clement who had to prove it, and we got him. I think we actually got him. I forget how we got Ernie. Either was DFA'd and we got him on a minor league deal. I forget exactly how we got him, but similar situation where it's this guy is a guy who got cut by a crap organization. At the time, it was the Cleveland Guardians. They were bad a few years ago. And then it's oh, okay, well, here we go. Let's see what we got. So it is just one of those depth signing deals, but he's not going to take priority over any of our young rookies.
No. This is somebody that you're going to see in spring training, and then after that, you may forget about, unless, of course, he decides to go insane mode in AAA again and really pop off. So, and also, I will admit, this is not going to be the last one of these signings. You know that Ross Atkins likes to go out and likes to get these type of players that you're kind of like, you're scratching your head wondering, what are we doing with this guy? I'm sure there is going to be a handful more of them before the offseason is finished. Getting a couple questions in the chat just asking, when is the winter meetings? There are December 8th to 12th. This is a great opportunity for us to shout out that we are going to be live for so much of those winter meetings. We're going to be following along with the draft when it happens, or the draft lottery, excuse me, because the Toronto Blue Jays have a legitimate shot at getting that number 1 or number 2 overall selection, which could be a franchise changer. We're obviously going to be following along with all of the rumors. We anticipate that will be the time that the Juan Soto sweepstakes are really heating up. And on top of that, I mean, you already saw Blake Snell sign, but you could certainly see a Max Fried go, or a Corbin Burns go, or just a lot of the big names during that 4-day stretch, because that's obviously when the GMs get together and understand, all right, this is what's going on, and trades. Lots of trades. So we're going to be following along with all of that during that period of time.
Because even if Juan Soto, it won't be following Juan Soto regardless of the Jays are in and out. I mean, that's just the most exciting thing happening in baseball right now. But, you know, I'm hoping, part of me really hopes that, you know, I never really thought we were going to get Juan Soto. So part of me hopes that, like, we just hear a confirmation, like, we're out, but now the Jays are going hard on Max Fried. And it's like, okay, cool. Let's just lock it down. Let's focus on building a team like we always were supposed to do and get away from the distraction of Juan. So part of me just wants the pain to end a little bit.
I do get it. Like, you're kind of half in, you're kind of half out, because it's tough to actively believe about it. But obviously, like, you know, if people are saying that we're in, like, we got to follow along with that, because, like,
of course.
that is a game changer if you get him. But I agree with you, right? It almost feels better for the Toronto Blue Jays to just, you know, cut their losses and be like, okay, let's move on. Santander, Max Fried, or, you know, Bregman and someone.
Yeah, let's use this winter meetings as an advantage. You know what I mean? Like, let's not, last year we spent it all on Ohtani, I'm assuming. Most of it, if not. You know, like, so let's use it as a bit of an opportunity to help our team in other ways.
Yes, and I do think that there were some missed opportunities last offseason, not just through the free agent market, but through the trade market as well. We've seen these guys be active in the offseason before, trading people away, specifically the prior offseason last season, when you saw Lourdes and you saw Teo go. I certainly don't want to see, you know, big players like that leave the team, but I do think that trading away some guys from that infield, like we just brought up, is going to be an important component for this Toronto Blue Jays team if they want to be competitive in 2025. You need guys in the bullpen. You need guys throughout the lineup as well, and right now you just have all of these players in that second base bag. You know, we don't need all those guys there, right? We got to take some of those guys and move them over to other places. And if they don't want to transition as ball players to become a third baseman or outfielder or whatever, or a bullpen guy, well, we're just going to trade you for one. So there you have it.
Absolutely, guys. Let us know in the chat, guys, what you think about all of that. Winter meetings coming up, Juan Soto and whatnot. We're going to transition right now to our questions submitted by you guys with the link in the description. If you have a question, you want us to answer it in our next podcast or our next Blue Jays Today show on Monday or Friday, then submit it. It's down in the description, Google form, click it. But before we do, let's give a shout out to Betway. Hey guys, time for a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video. Hit your picks and knock it out of the park with Betway. Scan the QR code down below or click the link in the description to join the action. Available in Ontario only, must be 19 years older to participate. And guys, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content.
Shout out to Betway, everybody, for being absolutely phenomenal. I hope that you all took your Green Bay Packers bets that we told you to take, because they kicked ass last night. Also, sidebar, guys, 9-3, getting a little excited, starting to feel that, like, potential Super Bowl pressure. The heartbreak's going to hit hard come January, come February.
It's going to be tough, but hopefully you make it. 1 in 12 chance, you said.
That's the Betway's
odds.
Exactly. 1 in 12 times the Green Bay Packers could walk away victorious this time around, and that would certainly make me feel a lot better walking into the baseball season if I had that under our belt. But if you're looking to make some money today, you got Chiefs, you got Raiders. That's the NFL game going on right now. What do you like for this one?
Oh, God. I mean, it's such a skewered line. I actually hate when they're this skewered, because obviously Chiefs are a beast of a team, but they're not like so convincing,
blowing the doors off.
Yeah, like they're not so convincing that I'm willing to take a negative 22.5 on the Chiefs. That's obviously a really high line of 3.75, or even taking the spread of like 12.5. Like, I don't know, like even though like the Raiders don't really have a quarterback right now, it's still
they don't shit, dude. That team's terrible.
It's so bad. They're one of the worst teams, but it's still like the Chiefs aren't. If it was like the Lions, oh my god, I'm smashing this.
Right.
But like the Chiefs, they're still gonna win. So, but again, like I'm not taking a money line of 116. So for me, actually, I made a Betway feed clip where I took moneyline Chiefs, and it also paired it up with a Kareem Hunt 65 rushing yards, because I'm like, they're going to get up early and then they're just going to run the ball.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, well, that's 195. That felt really good to me.
That does feel pretty good, guys. You let us know in the chat what you're riding with, and hop on the Betway, guys. Scan the QR code. They're tracking that stuff these days, so it actually really does help us quite a bit if you scan that QR code. Also, before we get to the questions, just a major shout out here to our merchandise, guys. If you're looking to purchase some of our merchandise, there's some Black Friday sales going on right now. So you can hop on there. The link is in the description to do so. Maybe you got a friend that listens to us or a family member or something like that. You want to get them some Blue Jays Today merch. Be pretty cool. We're going to have some new shirts dropping very soon as well. So that will be a lot of fun.
We will. I believe it's 15%, guys. So go check it out. Link in the description. I'm just pulling up.
All right. Enough ads, enough nonsense. Let's talk questions. Let's talk Toronto Blue Jays. You guys submitted them in our mailbag. Like we said, if you haven't already done so, the link in the description is to do so. We got one coming in here from Ethan Woods, who says, how would you feel about Barger and Loperfido starting as bench options? I think both have high ceilings if they can figure out the swing and miss in their game. If the Jays end up retooling, they might give us hope for the future. I'm very high on them both. So Barger and Loperfido. Now, I'll tell you guys right now, this channel right here is high on Addison Barger because he has been on this channel twice before. So we are Addison Barger stands. Any type of Addison Barger hate, I don't want to hear it. I don't want none of it, all right? I will get in the mud, and I will battle for this guy. So I love that you are talking about Addison Barger. I don't want to see him traded. I would like him to get opportunities. Loperfido, though, I don't know how I feel about that guy. Let me know your thoughts on what it was that Ethan Woods was saying here.
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think we traded for Loperfido for a reason, right? I mean, you have potential upside. There's a lot of swing and miss in this game. I mean, he's got a lot of work to do this offseason. No doubt about it. The defense out there, it's good, but he's got a lot of work with the bat. Whereas Addison Barger, same kind of thing. Like, he was going through a lot of adjustments last year, and he's got a lot of work. He got his cup of coffee in the big leagues. He's got to do the same thing, right? He's got to, honestly, for me, and maybe I'm talking about my ass because I'm not a big league ball player, but he's got to find a way to make better contact when he's down 0-2. You know what I mean? He has a violent swing. That's great for power, and I never want to take away what his game is, but if it's not working, there's got to be a way where you can cut it down or do something to help the ball club.
And sorry, you're talking about Barger?
Barger right now. Yeah, like and honestly, same thing with Loperfido. Not as much of a violent swing, but it is a very holy swing. What I mean by that is there's one spot in a swing on the inner half of the plate that he can't get to as a lefty. So as a bench option, yes, I agree, because I'm looking over at this team right now, and I've got, I got George Springer out in right, I got Varsho out in center. He's might be injured to start the year, by the way. And then there's a bunch of holes in left. I hope that we, for, a good offseason, we go fill out that left field spot and we get an actual bat. And the same thing with Barger. It's like, we've got Vladdy, Bichette, a question mark at third base, question mark at second base. I hope we can fill out something there, one more spot in the infield, and then have Barger come off the bench so we can continue to work on stuff. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I think that your point
about
Barger
time for a quick shout out to the sponsor.
Shout out to Betway once again right there. But no, seriously, like Barger's swing is insane. And I don't think I've ever seen a guy in the big leagues have a swing that violent and it actually work consistently. If you're going to be doing that, like, you have got to be barreling the baseball. And yeah, okay, if you actually barrel the baseball when you're swinging like that, it is going to go 500 feet. Like that's what's going to happen. But that very rarely happened last year, right? In the small time that he was up there. So I would say that, yeah, he's definitely got to prioritize making better contact, making better swing decisions as well. I think that there is certainly a high ceiling with Addison Barger, and the one thing that I love about him the most, and this is something that can't be said for every player, is the effort. Addison Barger gives you 200% effort all of the time. He is gunning it in, to first base, even when it is a surefire out. He is sprinting his ass off. In the field, he's going crazy all the time. It's insane effort, which I love. There does need to be some improvement this offseason.
Yeah, it's channeling that effort into the right areas. Like, you can give 100 or 200% effort, like you said, into your swing, but if it makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, why don't you channel the 200% effort if you're down 0-2 on making great contact? It's like a
You
different
can't
different
force
version.
it. Exactly,
Yeah,
right? Like, see, it feels like he forces some of the game sometimes, and he's got to let the game come a little bit easier to him.
And that happens with a rookie, too.
Of course it
you
does.
want to make a good impression. You want to hit a big homer. You want to do something. But it's focusing that effort again, like I said,
exactly,
on the right
right.
thing.
I mean, for those football fans out there, I mean, watched Caleb Williams tried to force shit all day yesterday.
Right.
He actually played a pretty good game, all things considered. But ultimately, that is very tough for a rookie.
Actually, David Boy makes a great point here. Brett Lowry, I know it's out of your time, but Brett Lowry also gave full effort. That guy was 1,000% effort all day long. But guess what happened to him? He got hurt constantly.
Yes,
because he's hurting. He's hurt. You're literally contorting your body. Way too fast.
It is tough, man. Like even when you're in the prime physical health, which I think we can admit, Barger is pretty much in his prime right now. It's just tough for the human body to withstand 162 games of that
right?
effort.
Like
it's a lot.
It's very hard, right? And then what happened? He kind of peaked and fell off because people adjusted to him and he bounced around, right? So, anyways, that's my thought. I hope he can bounce back.
And I do think to start off, anyways, bench options.
Yeah,
I'm not going to complain about that at all.
He can play right. He can play third. That's good for me.
Yeah.
You can play both.
We got another question here coming in from Absolute Dan. Shout out and thank you for submitting right there. With Blake Snell signing with the LA Dodgers for $182 million, what are the Blue Jays' chances of signing anybody at this point? You know what? That's a very valid question, and we've seen some people in the chat just be like, guys, like, talked about the Blake Snell contract, everything like that. And I don't know if we've really got a chance to dive into it too much here, but Blake Snell is a very talented player, and I think that he is worth a lot of money. I do think that 182 is up there for sure, and I think that it could be considered an overpay. But setting the market like that, it means it's going to be tough for the Toronto Blue Jays, because if you look at the career numbers, you look at the age, somebody like a Max Fried, who they are apparently very interested in and very in on, it's going to require them to give out the biggest contract in Blue Jays franchise history. Previously, that was at George Springer, or I mean, currently it's at George Springer. To get Max Fried over here, you're looking at 200 or 210 or maybe even more than that, right? With what we just saw Blake Snell go for. So they're going to have to be willing to give out the biggest contract in Blue Jays franchise history. It's going to be very, very difficult for them. Do I want to give, the biggest contract in Blue Jays franchise history to another aging starting pitcher? I mean, I like Max Fried a lot. I trust the talent. Would I prefer it to be to a bat? Probably. But you know what? I do still believe we're going to get somebody, is my final answer there.
Yeah, like if the question is, are we going to get anybody? Like, literally anybody, yes.
Guys, we got Michael Stefanic.
Stefanic. We already got it. The answer to the question,
we got the superstar. Now it's just complimentary pieces.
Right. But assuming you're talking about, like, a guy, you know what I mean? Like a big guy. I do. I don't think you enter this offseason not getting a guy. I mean, you saw what happened last year. The pressure's really on you now. All the talk, we didn't hear this talk last year of like they're gonna like do something. Like where last year was like they're in on Ohtani, but that was kind of it, right? There was no other conversation around that. They're really splashing, they're really firing their bullets. I think we'll get somebody. And it's kind of your comment, or your question to yourself was, what am I willing to spend it on a guy of who's a middle of his career pitcher? Probably. I mean, you look at our window right now, right? It ends after 2026 effectively, and we don't have anybody really other than Barrios and Yariel Rodriguez. And screw it, why not get a Max Fried or a Corbin Burns for that matter?
Yeah.
On a record deal, I'm cool with it.
Other than Juan Soto, like trying to do your best to factor in the contract, the risk, what they provide for the team, everything like that. Give me your power rankings of top 5 or top 3 free agents right now for the Blue Jays, considering how much they would cost, the position, all that shit.
Power rankings in terms of like great deal to production on the field, like is that what you're kind of thinking?
I'm asking you, like, if you could, keeping in mind a realistic contract offer for them, if you could have, your number 1, your number 2, your number 3 without Juan Soto, right?
Right.
What do you have as being like the top target for you, the second best target type thing for the Toronto Blue Jays?
Honestly, if we're talking about value, I don't really know which order. I'll give you like 3 good ones.
Yeah, okay.
Like, honestly, Teoscar Hernandez. Like,
that's fair.
Like, I'm actually serious. Like, this guy's gonna get paid maybe just over $100 million for a few years, and I think he's got a few years left in him.
Yeah.
Like, you look at Santander, and there's you could look at similar kind of production, but more contact and, you know, a better slugging. And, you know, like there's a lot of similarities. And I really do love Teoscar Hernandez. A little bit older for sure.
Yeah.
But I think I'd be willing to pay for that. Maybe there's a little bit of bias coming in there for me.
It's a lot of bias, but we also love Teo. So
we love Teo. We know the value he can provide, and we know that what he can do for this clubhouse too. For me, honestly, Corbin Burnes too. Like, even though yes, he is going to cost $210 million. We were just comparing him on Bad for Baseball. If you guys haven't checked it out, it's our other channel where we just talk MLB all day long. We compared him to a Garrett Cole the other day. And
similar, yeah.
Very, very similar. The only reason why Garrett Cole got his $300+ million, another $100 million more than him, was because he really popped off in Houston for a few years under that 3-year ERA.
He was incredible. Yeah.
He was incredible, but you probably can get that same production from him now for
from
way
Burnes.
less.
Yes,
for way less, and for me, that's a great value there. I wanted to say Willy Adames, but the value for him is getting really high up there.
I didn't actually expect Willy Adames to be at the price tag that he's currently being reported to, and like it's looking like Adames could get paid something similar to like a Blake Snell,
absolutely,
which is I personally think a little bit too much. Like, again, he is a very, very solid player. Defensively, he's sound, but I don't know, man. Like, I just think the offensive production for me, like the ceiling isn't as high as it could be. I personally, like, power ranking wise, for me, the number one player that I really would love to see the Toronto Blue Jays go out and get, and then you just deal with it afterwards, would honestly be a Pete Alonso.
Oh, that was my third one.
Yeah, like
Pete Alonso.
I just think, like, you know, what have we been screaming about for so long right now? We want protection for Vladdy. We want somebody who hits for power.
Yep.
You know, we want a guy that's like gonna bring an energy and an excitement to this team. Like, Pete Alonso checks all of those boxes for me. The only thing that, you know, gets a little convoluted is, okay, well, he plays first base and Guerrero plays first base.
Right.
But I think that's just one of those things that you know,
we'll
figure it the fuck out, right?
Yeah,
like, this is
there's
somebody
a DH spot, you know?
Exactly, right? You got a DH spot for a reason. You figure it out. If they have to like swap back and forth, that's what you do. But this is somebody for me that could easily hit over 40 home runs in any given season.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at somebody like a Santander, and I'd still be very happy with a Santander. I think that more times than not, you are not going to see him hit 44 home runs again.
Yeah.
Whereas I can almost guarantee that at least in the you know, let's say you sign Pete Alonso to a 5 or 6 year deal, one of those years at minimum you're gonna get a 40 home run season.
I can almost 50 again,
exactly,
you know?
like I can almost lock that in and guarantee it for you, assuming that there's no major injuries.
Yeah.
And for that reason, like, I would just love to have that guy on
like
this team.
He could average 35 home runs to 40 home runs.
100%.
You know,
100%.
we need that, right? So, and I agree with you. And his price tag is like kind of low.
It's not as much as you might think.
Much.
Like, I think he's going to get paid probably less than an Alex Bregman, which in my opinion is a little insane.
I think it's because he's a first baseman. Like, that's the reason, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you know, he doesn't provide too much defensively, but I don't care, right? We're looking for hitters.
Yes.
I don't care the way you, like you said, like, find a way to do it. Vladdy wants to play, well, he's willing to play third base. I don't care.
Yeah,
I really don't give
like,
a shit.
for me, it's all about you know, believing in the talent, and I believe in the talent of Pete Alonso. I also do, like, on that power rankings for me, I do have Max Fried up there. Like, I know that I said that, you know, do I really want a pitcher type thing? Well, I do, because I like Max Fried a lot, and I think that the talent is there. So I could definitely get behind them paying a lot of money for him. I know he's going to cost a lot. I would prefer Pete Alonso if I had to, you know, pick one or the other. But, you know, again, I'm not going to be disappointed at all if they get Max Fried, just because I believe in that guy as a player.
Yeah, like, I don't think I'm going to be upset at all if you get any of the big guys. Really.
Probably
You
not.
know, I'm not going to be upset at all.
I can really
guarantee
convince myself on anyone. However, like, you know, just from a tier ranking standpoint, I do think that there's more risk involved with an Alex Bregman.
Oh, yeah.
I do think that there is a, you know, I don't want to say a crazy amount of risk with a Willy Adames, but, you know, there's some risk there. I think that there's some significant risk with an Anthony Santander as well.
For sure.
I'm not going to be upset at all, because we need players and we cannot get super picky right now. But, you know, my top choices would be those other guys.
I guess I was going to ask a question just real quickly, but, you know, just glazing over this real quick, we don't have to explain too much. The most riskiest, on the other side of things, the most riskiest top guy option, I would say, well, yeah, would be like maybe Willy Adames, Alex Bregman, and then I would have said Blake Snell. But
yeah, no, I do think that Blake Snell is pretty risky just from the monetary value. Depending on the contract that you shell out to Jack Flaherty, that could get a little risky.
Right.
I believe that he's going to be good, but only if, you know, he gets paid not that much, right? I wouldn't want to give him 150 or something like that.
Right.
So, yeah, avoid the risk. Stick with the solid proving guys. That's where I'm at right now. We got a final question in here from Zion saying, how would you all feel about bringing Ha-Seong Kim in to fill in that third base spot? Great defense and a much-needed threat as a base runner. Now, the defense and the base running is great, but correct me if I'm wrong, he had a kind of a down year hitting-wise last year, did he not?
He did have a down year. It was like a lower 700 OPS. I'm just kind of pulling it out of the top of my brain. But he did do very good, defensively and with the stolen bases. Granted, he was hurt last year too, so that's a big part of his. He was actually on a pace for I had him in fantasy. He was having a phenomenal first half.
Yes,
and then got hurt,
and
then played hurt, and then hit the IR. So for me, I always see Ha-Seong Kim and a Gleyber Torres in the same tier as this is our after we make a big move, fill in. If you can get this guy, that's a great complimentary piece that I could see him breaking out and complementing the bigger pieces that we have to acquire this offseason, which would inevitably make our team a winning ball team again. So, yeah, I mean, I would like it if the price is right.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where I'm not going to be upset at this whatsoever, but I still need to see another, hopefully more productive offensive player. His projected contract is 4 years for $50 million roughly for Ha-Seong Kim, which I think is perfectly fine.
Good, yeah.
I'm more than okay with that if the Toronto Blue Jays wanted to do that. But again, to your point, this is a second move or a third move, right? It's Pete Alonso or it's Max Fried and Ha-Seong Kim, and then now we're talking. Now we're bringing in that depth. If that's all it is, then I would be very disappointed.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're gonna get one big guy. If we got two, I'd be we're all the way hell back. I'm bought in again.
Of course. Yeah.
I'm if we got Max Fried and Pete Alonso, I'm oh, and then Ha-Seong Kim commenting, I'm oh my god.
Oh my god, yeah.
I'm way all the way out.
Yeah, we're buying season tickets at this point.
Oh, absolutely, right. But right now, it's my expectations. Give me that one big guy. Give me somebody like a Ha-Seong Kim. Two offensive
and then
pieces.
a few bullpen pieces.
And
we can ride into the next season, and we can
have a little bit of hope. Yes. I'm not going to say we're going to win the division or maybe even make a wild card, but I'll be hopeful.
Yes,
we have a chance.
Yeah, no, that's for me the bar. For this offseason, that's the bar. You want to overachieve with a Vladdy extension and a Soto signing. Well, yes. I'm all here for it, guys. I'm all here for it, but I'm not going to tweet at Jeff Passan about it.
No,
I'm
not. No,
guys,
I'm not.
Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think about all of the stuff that we discussed today? What's going on with Mick? What's going on with Juan Soto? What's going on with Michael Stefanic? We're going to be coming out with a lot more content as the rumors and reports continue to surface about what the Toronto Blue Jays are doing this offseason. And like we said, marketing your agenda, those winter meetings. There might not be an hour where we're not live on YouTube. We're going to be covering everything during that period of time because it really should get very hot.
Yeah, guys. So before you leave, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to Blue Jays Today so you don't miss out on any of those videos that Nick is talking about. $3 a month to become a Patreon member. Shout out and thank you to all of our Patreon members and to our YouTube members. You guys are absolutely awesome.
Yeah, we appreciate all of you. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, go Jays, go!